Hey y'all, welcome back to the safest space on YouTube, my channel. Girls like me don't cry. Girls like me pretend that we don't cry. Today's video, we're gonna get a little bit more intimate than the last video, which was about spirituality. If you have not watched it, pause this video and then come back after you get done watching that video because it's gonna gently lead you into the next video. Today we're talking about emotional intelligence and regulation in your 20s. A lot of us after the pandemic don't realize how emotionally dysregulated we are. Do you understand how traumatic that whole entire year was? If not 2 years, that was traumatic. So I think that it's time we reintroduce emotional regulation into conversations. So when I was growing up, emotional intelligence and mental health was not really a dominant conversation or topic in my family. And I feel like that kind of played into how I emotionally react to things today and the choices I make today. And I want to break that generational cycle and pattern, starting with myself, because that's the only person you can control. Starting back in my childhood, love wasn't really something we expressed to each other verbally. It was more so acts of service, actions, gatherings, food. Those are the ways that we bonded with each other, but we didn't really say like, oh, I love you, or oh, I'm thinking about you. It was always just kind of like showing people how you love them. With that being said, this absence of verbal expression of love kind of pushed me into a space where I suppressed my emotions. I was on autopilot. Anytime something would happen, I would snip my emotions and shove them down because my family around me, they had very big personalities and big emotions. And so I didn't want to add to an already inflammatory environment. So a lot of times I would just shove my own feelings down, but we're gonna stop that today. So I do like words of affirmation. It's not my number one, but it's something that plays into a part of reassurance for me. I didn't know back then that that's something that I need. Like someone's verbal expression of love is something that I need. So like I reach out to people and let them know how I feel, or I tell my family I love them, etc., etc. Once I got to college, it was a whole new world. I was responsible for my feelings, as was everyone else. I even switched from pre-law to psychology because I was that in love with studying feelings, emotions, how our brain operates. Like all the things that have to do with human nature is what fascinated me, and it really inspired me to kind of take it there and arm myself with even more knowledge, which changed my life entirely. I was able to express myself properly. I was able to resolve conflict without it escalating. I was able to just find healthy methods of stabilizing myself and regulating my feelings and this energy that's constantly moving throughout me. It was very, very enlivening, I'll say. Now that I'm back in my family's home, it feels like I'm kind of back where I started, like almost as if I never left. I'm triggered to start suppressing my emotions again because there's still big personalities and inflammatory habits that are happening around me. It kind of drives me to start back up the behavior that I was doing before I left my family. That's kind of what kind of throws a wrench into my emotional regulation, is being triggered by people repeating their old habits that I got rid of on my own when I moved out. So sometimes it feels like I'm in a really high stress environment, which also kind of forces me to isolate myself. And I don't really want to put myself in the position where I'm suppressing myself and constantly suppressing my emotions just so that other people can express theirs. I'm done with that. And once I decided that I was done with that, it started to get even more hectic and just inflammatory because I feel like my family, like they're just used to people arguing with them. And when I was living on my own, I didn't have to argue with anybody. I could just kind of like reside in my own peaceful bubble. If there was any type of conflict, I could talk to them and communicate with them in a very calm, cool, and collected manner. But it's just harder. If you say one little thing, it feels like they will be emotionally reactive immediately. So that's what kind of forces me like to be isolated in my own space. I'm trying to create the peaceful environment that I had before I moved back home. And I realize that it's not going to always be 100% perfect, but I'm basically trying to, create my little groove, create my environment. If that's one thing that I want to really work on, is just kind of focusing on myself and how I react to people, because That's what I want to be known for. I don't want to be like, oh, well, I'm this way because my family is this way. No, I'm this way because I chose to be this way. And regardless of what's going on outside of me, they can't control me. They can't control my emotions. And so that's kind of like what I've been on lately. Despite all the challenges and the reactiveness and the little snips and snaps and stuff like that, I just want good rest, a healthy mind, and low stress levels. That's all I want, essentially. I feel like over time, my family has definitely evolved into higher versions of themselves, which I commend them for, and I 100% give them credit for. There is still a lot of work to be done when it comes to my own autonomy of my own emotions and my own accountability and responsibility for how I react and respond to people. And I think that's what brings change to our environments. That's what brings change to our families and our generational cycles and patterns that we tend to repeat. That's what brings change, is when we take accountability for ourselves and we just lead by example. I have two choices. I can either A, act intentionally, or B, continue to repeat the same behaviors and the same cycles that I've been repeating for 20 years. Obviously, I'm going to choose A, and we're going to talk about the habits that I'm going to instill in order to become more emotionally regulated, have healthier habits, have a healthier communication style, and just overall low stress. Everything will be alright. So number one is feeling the feeling. I'm going to start feeling my feelings. If I'm sad, I'm going to be sad. I'm going to explore where that sadness is coming from, and I'm going to expel it from my body. I'm no longer suppressing myself. We are going to be expressing our emotions. We don't have to be hooting. We don't have to be hollering, but you have to express your feelings. And if you don't, you are going to feel unheard. And when you feel unheard, then you start to resent people. And when you start to resent people, there will always be tension. I hate tension. I hate things swept under the rug. So we're going to start expressing our feelings. Number two, we are going to respond instead of react. Something inflammatory or something triggering happens, we are going to make sure that we put our best foot forward, and we are going to communicate. We are going to fully consume and ingest what it is the other person is saying, how they're feeling, their behavior, their body language, everything, their energy. We're going to consume that, and then we are going to respond with the best course of action. When you impulsively react, you can completely damage a relationship, whether that be with friends, family, coworkers, romantic partners. You must respond, not react, especially not impulsively. Number three, we are going to be focusing on the outcome. A lot of times when we are not focused on the outcome or the solution of any type of conflict or any type of emotional dysregulating occurrence, we tend to lose sight of why we feel how we feel, and we tend to start repeating the same behaviors and the same feelings, and we start spiraling with the same thoughts all over again. And what I want to stop is losing sight of what I want to happen in the first place. You know, emotions are not always logical, as we've grown to know and understand. What I want to do is focus on the outcome, make sure that I have a solution that I'm walking towards. If the solution is to just cry it out, then that's what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to lose sight of what the end goal is here. Because when you make decisions that are not aligned with the outcome that you want, you get results that you don't want. Next up, be more adaptable and flexible in life. I feel like a lot of us are so stuck in our routines, we're so stuck in our behaviors, we're so stuck in our beliefs. We forget that life can sometimes be very unpredictable, and that is one of the parts that you have no control over. So when you are in a state of control and routine to the point where you can't adjust or adapt when life throws a curveball at you, you're more likely to experience turbulent emotion, distress, chaos, and just panic, because you don't understand why life is throwing you this curveball. Life is going to throw you changes. You're going to gain interest and lose interest in things. And that's just life. Become more flexible, become more adaptable, become more willing to bend and sway with, you know, the nature of the universe and how it can transform and change you in ways that actually benefit you, whether it seems like it or not. Next up, detach from people's opinions. This is a big one because I feel like a lot of us, when we're communicating with people, we take a lot of things personally. I'm a dark-skinned Black woman who is not skinny. I have been bullied before. I've learned over time to grow tough skin. Everything that everyone says about you or to you is not true. A lot of times people are projecting their insecurities onto you. They're projecting their doubts and fears and their beliefs onto you, and they might not even align with where you're headed in life. So what I would suggest is anytime somebody says something to you that doesn't ring true to you or doesn't resonate with you, just think water off a duck's back. Water does not absorb into duck's feathers, okay? So water off a duck's back has nothing to do with me. That's a projection of you. If it does resonate, then that's something that, you might need to examine within yourself and reflect on later. Don't consume and internalize other people's opinions about you. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. Next up, I want to start identifying the correct emotions and labeling them. A lot of us mislabel our emotions. We'll mistake sadness for anger or anger for sadness. We'll mistake disappointment for betrayal or vice versa. And when you can properly label your emotions, what tends to happen is you don't repeat the same cycles because you now know what emotion you're feeling, which carries you to where that emotion is coming from, and you get to the root cause. You can tug it out from the root. That's the goal here. We want to make sure we are representing our emotions properly, labeling them properly, and handling and expressing them properly. If you know that you've been betrayed versus shamed, you can have a different plan of action with the betrayed emotion versus the shame emotion. If you know that you're sad and not angry, you can deal with your sadness in a different way than you would deal with your anger. That's why we want to make sure that we label our emotions properly. Then number 6, step away. Sometimes your emotions are going to physically take over you. And if you are someone who is reactive, who is impulsive, who has issues with communicating in the heat of the moment, you need to just step away. Hey, excuse me, do you mind if I step away real quick and process this? I will get back to you. It's that simple. You don't have to go back and forth. You don't have to tit for tat. Step away, process the emotion. By the time you're done processing that emotion, who knows what's going to happen? You could find a solution that makes you and the other party happy. And last but not least, I want to focus on my brain health and my rest. I feel like people who don't get any sleep or they don't have a nutritiously balanced diet, something's wrong up there. They have no type of self-regulated control. It seems like any type of statement or action that someone does completely flies them off the handle and they don't have control over themselves. I don't want other people to be able to control me. So what I'm going to start doing is prioritizing my rest. So I will be trying to go to bed around 11 to 12 a.m. And then I will be taking brain supplements. I will be including more nutrition dense foods, more fruits, more veggies, more seeds, more nuts, like all of the good stuff, all of the healthy fats. I need all of it. Give it to me. Num, 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 num. These are my habits and tools that I'm going to be adopting so that I can become who I want to be and make sure that I can maintain that mindset, maintain that lifestyle, maintain that connection with source, myself and my family and my friends. We need emotional regulation. We cannot just be out here raw dogging life, impulsively reacting to every little thing. We have to get our shit together. And that's what we're doing today when it comes to our emotional regulation. Thank you for exploring emotional dysregulation and regulation with me. This has been fun. If you have any tips for mental well-being or ways to regulate your emotions, feel free to drop them in the comments. But yeah, let's heal and grow together. Thank you for watching. Love you, love you, love you. Bye. Yeah.